Russia is suffering heavy losses east of Donetsk and is preparing new attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. President Vladimir Zelensky expects Russia to strike soon with new momentum. Russia continues to step up attacks on the Donetsk region. The enemy is taking heavy losses in the region, but despite the heavy losses, it continues to lead new recruits to their deaths. Russia is concentrating its forces ahead of the upcoming repetition of massive attacks on our energy infrastructure. We are preparing to respond. One of the Ukrainian army's recent successes in the Donetsk region is the destruction of a building that housed the management of Russian railroads. This one has been under occupation since 2014. The target was strategic and will hamper the supply of weapons to the front. The main role in this conflict is played by artillery. Artillery needs very serious supplies. The only supply line that would replenish artillery ammunition needs relatively efficiently and quickly is the railroads. The Russians will not only run out of artillery ammunition, but also basic replenishment in terms of food and fuel. Unfortunately, Russian attacks are also sometimes severe. Kiev is bracing for total power outages. Power grid and water supply infrastructure around the city have become the target of Russian airstrikes in recent weeks. Suppliers are planning power outages. We are doing everything to make sure this doesn't happen, but let's be honest, our enemies are doing everything they can to keep the city without heat and water. In general, they want us all to die. Whether we will endure depends on what steps we take to prepare. The future of our country depends on it. That's why we are planning energy supply restrictions. Russia continues to attack Ukraine's critical infrastructure. Yesterday, the dam at Nova Kakhovka, which is part of a hydropower plant, was damaged. The dam is 30 meters high and more than 3 kilometers long, and according to experts, its destruction would cause massive flooding, which would halt further Ukrainian counteroffensive in the Kherson region. If the dam had been blown up, this huge body of water could have spilled along the Dnieper River, flowing towards the Black Sea, and could have paralyzed and largely destroyed localities on the eastern and western banks. But overall, they would have crippled and halted the Ukrainian offensive. From the point of view of conducting a further offensive, it is a key locality, since the distance to Crimea is only 80 kilometers. And if it were possible to capture these bridgeheads in the locality of Nova Kakhovka, it would allow the Ukrainian offensive to be developed, which in turn would result in a complete disruption of the Russian army's grouping and virtually cut off all of Crimea from the land connection with mainland Russia. Kremlin terror in Ukraine is saying irreparable damage to the social order. More than 44,000 cases of Russian war crimes have been reported since the beginning of the invasion. In addition, Russian military action has triggered a wave of migration, and this has broken up millions of Ukrainian families. Since the 24th of February, border guards have cleared more than 7.5 million people at the border crossings from Ukraine to Poland. Currently, 250,000 reservists are being trained in Russia and will soon join the fighting. However, for these soldiers, the front in Ukraine is their first contact with war, and a short stay in a training garrison is not adequate preparation. That's why many of them, when they learn the realities of war, would rather lay down their arms than die for Vladimir Putin's imperialist policies.
Раз, два, три! Слава Украине! Путин, пидорас!